so that we can have a record of attendance.
Tim Rice, FDNY, also attending online.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. All right. Now for the fun disclaimer stuff. Are we good? We good?
Yeah.
Proceed? All right. So why are we here? Under the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, local emergency planning committees must develop an emergency response plan, review the plan at least annually, that's why we're here, and provide information about chemicals in the community to citizens. Plans are developed by LEPCs with stakeholder participation. LEPC membership must include at a minimum elected state and local officials, police, fire, civil defense, public health professionals, environmental, transportation, hospital officials, and facility representatives from community groups and the media as well. Some of the required elements for a community emergency response plan are identification of facilities and transportation routes of extremely hazardous substances, description of emergency response procedures on and off site, designation of a community coordinator and a facility emergency coordinators to implement the plan, outline of emergency notification procedures, description of how to determine the probable affected areas of populations by releases, description of local emergency equipment and facilities and the persons responsible for them, outline of the evacuation plans, a training program for emergency responders, methods and schedules for exercising emergency response plans. The Community Right to Know Law, Local Law 26 of 1988, requires the city to effectively regulate the storage, use, and handling of hazardous substances. As part of the law, we oversee the storage and use of hazardous substances that pose a threat to public health and environment throughout New York City. The Right to Know program manages the reporting and storage of hazardous substances by requiring businesses and facilities to annually file a Tier 2 report detailing the quantity, location, and chemical nature of every hazardous substance stored within their facilities throughout the 5 boroughs. The Right to Know program uses an online reporting system that allows the facilities to electronically submit their annual revision or updated Tier 2 submissions, and the filing deadline is March 1st every year.
Thank you, Commissioner. So now that we all realize the importance of the LEPC and how EPCRA, makes it happen, we're now going to do 2 things. First, we need to review and approve the minutes of last year, which I will give to NISM to follow. I'm sure you've all had the wonderful opportunity to listen to it online, and if not, well, it's there. But for now, I will hand over to NISM to give a quick summary, and then we will begin this year's meeting and updates.
Great, thank you very much. As was mentioned, all of this is online if anybody wants further details about what happened last year. But the meeting started with introductions, similar to today. After introductions, the 2021 LEPC minutes were read. After the reading of those minutes, we reviewed the minutes from the March 25th, 2022 Hazardous Substance Advisory Board meeting before moving into Tier 2 metrics for that year. Those metrics were reported as follows. As of May 31st, 2022, the Right to Know program had received 11,280 Tier 2 submissions. Of those, 296 were added to the database, and only about 2% submitted hard copy reports, with the rest being online. The Right to Know program has 380 risk management plans on file. There were 65 submitted updates to those plans and 150 affidavit letters indicating that there was no change to their existing risk management plans. There were 29 risk management reports under review and 3 facilities have been inspected. With respect to regular inspections, the unit performed a total of 7,677 inspections during the 2022 fiscal year. Out of those, 205 facilities were exempt from filing, 318 facilities were out of business, 1,520 facilities were closed and or no access was granted, and 257 facilities were issued notices of violations for non-compliance. After review of those metrics, we moved to a discussion of the Right to Know program. It was noted program was coping with a severe staffing shortage at the time, but it was also mentioned that OMB had given the go-ahead to hire more people. So hopefully that's in a better state now. And finally, we moved into discussion of lithium-ion batteries, which took up the remainder of the meeting. So that concluded the meeting. If anyone's interested in more details, the full transcript can be found on New York City Emergency Management's website. Turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So, I guess at this point, let's commence with this year's meeting. I know on the agenda it says the Hazardous Substance Advisory Board, which is something that's usual. We actually run concurrently the LEPC and the HSAB meeting. So I'm going to hand over to Joanne, who will read the meeting minutes from our most recent HSAB meeting that was held this past March 7th to be exact. So Joanne, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Harry. In attendance in that meeting on March 7th was our Commissioners Cosgrove and Peter Fusco, along with Director Harry and myself and Ms. Yakub, and our Secretary, Noreen Gallert. From Fire Department, we had Vincent Siriano attended, Jackie Chang from Department of Sanitation, Christopher Williams from Department of Health, and Kevin Clark from Emergency Management. Director Meyer welcomed the participants to the meeting and thanked them for attending. He introduced the attendees of the meeting and asked the participants if they had any questions or concerns regarding the last meeting minutes. As there were none, Director Meyer motioned that they be accepted as written. Mrs. Yakub presented the metrics for the Tier 2 submissions received for the 2022 reporting year. She stated that during the 2023 calendar year, the Right to Know program received 10,223 submissions. She also stated that of these submissions, 10,020 reports were submitted online, and 203 facilities submitted a hard copy report. The Right to Know program currently has 385 risk management plans on file. They have received 104 affidavit letters indicating that there were no changes and 7 updates to existing RMPs. The Right to Know program inspection unit performed 2,826 inspections during the 2023 fiscal year. Of these, 993 were closed or no access was given. 187 were out of business, and 76 facilities were exempt from filing. Mrs. Yakub also stated that 123 facilities were issued notices of violations for non-compliance with the Right to Know law and regulations. Director Meyer explained that the division is currently facing staffing challenges, and as a result, the number of inspections performed are lower than usual. He further explained that because of the lack of staff that could be assigned to complete inspections, the division's focus shifted to completing technical reviews of the Tier 2 submissions that were received. He also stated that the division's focus will shift again to complete inspections during the third quarter of the year, when there will likely be more staff. Director Meyer went over the emergency response jobs that the division has received from July 2022 to present. So far, the division has performed 1,800 responses, and they expect the division response to approximately 3,000 jobs by the end of the fiscal year. The division has received approximately 54 jobs related to the disposal of ion batteries. Director Meyer explained that the division is also expecting a very busy deployment schedule now that things were returning to normal. He stated the dates of the upcoming deployments and asked if anyone would like to add anything. Mr. Chan from Department of Sanitation stated that since the EP had helped with the removal of batteries in December, a vendor came in and removed an additional 20 drums of batteries. Mr. Chen also explained that since mid-December, sanitation has received 20 drums with red labels, which makes them much more manageable. In conclusion, the meeting was open for questions and comments. Captain Vincent Serrano stated that they were receiving many copies of Tier 2 reports in PDF format, which is a big help to the fire department. Director Meyer then informed the participants that the next proposed meeting date is June 13th, 2023, and will most likely be an in-person meeting, in a combination with the LEPC. Director Meyer thanked the participants for joining the meeting, and he looks forward to working with everyone in the future.
Thank you so much, Joanne. So now we're going to start with the 2022 tier metrics numbers, which I know you're all dying to hear. So for that, Safa, I present you.
Okay.
Present the numbers, please.
Okay. As of June 1st, 2023, the Right to Know received 11,077 Tier 2 submissions. Out of this 11,077 submissions, 247 new facilities were added to our database and submit 2022 Tier 2 report. A total of 10,790 facilities submit online and 287 facilities submitted hard copy. 97.4 submit online and 2.6% submit hard copy report. For the risk management plan, the Right to Know currently have 389 risk management plan reports on file, and an additional of one facility is required to submit the RMP report. The Right to Know program received 35 updates to the existing risk management plan, and 150 affidavit letters indicated that there was no change on their existing RMP report. There are 7 risk management plans under review, and 2 facilities have been inspected. For the inspection, during 2023 fiscal year, the Right to Know program inspection unit performed a total of 3,824 inspections. Out of this, 83 facilities were exempt from filing, 315 facilities went out of business, 1,063 facilities were closed and no access granted, 153 facilities were issued notice of violation for non-compliance with the Right to Know law and regulation.
All right, thank you, Safa. That's a whole combination of numbers. And the one number that I'm going to just point out is the 3,824 inspections to date. Like we said before, they are lower than our normal. However, the good news is we are in the process of hiring. We do have personnel coming in. And as we project, hopefully by the third quarter, we will switch gears. Right now, we're focusing our attention on reviewing all of the Tier 2 reports, which is important. It would be nice to review the documentation before you go out to a facility, just to make sure that everything is accurate. So what we're doing is, again, focusing on all the 11,000 or so, documents that came in, trying to complete them as quickly as possible. And then once our new personnel come in and we go through the training process, hopefully third quarter, if not sooner, it all depends on how quickly they adapt and understand, how to do a inspection. People sometimes think, oh, it's just rules and regulations, but it isn't. If I send you into a facility with a bunch of chemicals, I think you need a little training first so that you know what you're dealing with. And so, we do have a whole training procedure. They go through learning the law, they go through a shadowing process, and even after that, before we even allow them to go on their own, they're still shadowed again and checked, and then there's senior people who follow up afterwards. And once they're all done and ready to go, we let them out on their own, and they go on and do these inspections, which are important to all of us because a lot of the emergency response agencies have access to Tier 2. And that is where we actually, during an emergency response, that's where a lot of people, a lot of response, counterparts go to that database, check everything out, and see what's actually there when we have an incident at hand. So it's our goal, of course, to have the most up-to-date and most accurate records. So with that, that's really what's happening. And hopefully a year from now, I'll be able to tell you that we're back at 95%, which is usually where we are, 95, 97, even 98, 99. We've had that before. Hopefully a year from now, that will be the report. So On the agenda, we get to hazardous materials, response metrics, and then we have noteworthy emergency responses and special deployments. So I'm going to combine both together, and I will just talk about the emergency response numbers, and then I will note a specific type of response, and then go to the fun stuff, which are deployments, and then go back to our friends, the lithium-ion jobs, which are a story in themselves.
Booming business. No pun
Absolutely, absolutely, well put. Okay, as we projected from the HSAB meeting in March, our numbers right now are at, as of last week, let's say, 2,670 responses. So we're definitely on our way going to 3,000. There's no question about it. When we average around 250 to 350 responses a month, I think the 3,000 number is definitely going to be low. So we've had a busy, active season. Normally, the response numbers are all by, we group our numbers by category. All of you who, seen this, the Hazardous Materials Management Report lists them out, breaks them down by wonderful graphics, good stuff here, definitely worth reading. And what it comes down to is the same categories as always: our chemical responses, fires, spills, explosions, petroleum, etc. But now we have another added flavor, lithium-ion batteries, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. I'll talk about the fun stuff, and then we'll talk about lithium. Let me just switch and talk about deployments, because those are the easy things. That's the one that everyone likes, where we go out, we have special deployments, we work as a significant team, where we work with our colleagues at NYPD, at FD, Health, the state, the CSTs, if you want to say that, the military. We have a wonderful team that works together on special deployments. We go out, we do our best to monitor for chemicals, rad, biologicals. That's really what we do. So this year, we've had a pretty good season so far. We've done St. Patrick's, we've had the New York Mets opener, the Yankees opener, the 5-borough bike tour. We've had the Brooklyn Half Marathon. There was a United Airlines Half Marathon also. We just had the Israeli parade this past Sunday. We're looking forward to the Puerto Rican Day celebration parade this Sunday. Then, of course, July 4th, which is a nice one. Then I'm just going to move forward. I know I'm moving early, but we have U.S. Open, which is a very large detail, DON General Assembly, the New York City Marathon, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, of course, the Rockefeller Center tree lighting, and New Year's Eve. So that is actually on the agenda for now, for this year. So far, so good. All of our partners have been working together. I just saw Vincent just 2 days ago, and I'm expecting to see him again this Sunday. So it's nice to see familiar faces and to have, a wonderful working relationship, with everyone, here at the table. So now let's talk about something that's near and dear to everyone here, lithium-ion batteries. Well, last year we talked about the issue of lithium-ion batteries and, how to deal with them. I mean, it's in a year, there's been a lot of progress on lithium-ion batteries. For those of you who are not aware, in December, OEM, NYPD, FDNY, sanitation, we all came together, came up with a protocol. The protocol is as follows. Whenever there's a lithium-ion battery, FD, of course, takes the lead because it is life safety. That's their core competency. Once that part is done, it's either the hazmat team or sometimes the local battalion remove the batteries out and they pack them. The good part with this is, I know people don't realize this, I know it makes no sense whatsoever, but it is a true thing. You put out a fire on a lithium battery, pack it up in water, And before you know it, the thing catches fire again. You say to yourself, I thought it's over. Not true. So what happens is you need to pack up these batteries that are damaged, which they're normally called DDR, defective, damaged, or recyclable type batteries, in an absorbent. This thing is called cell block, which is extremely expensive. So you need to pack them in in this cell block absorbent, and then it needs to be transported for either recycling or disposal. Either way. Sounds like a nice clean-cut procedure. Yes and no. And let's now talk about something just to give you an idea. In front of me is the list of jobs that we've had so far from middle December to present. I am looking at, as of this weekend, 153 responses just for lithium-ion batteries. 153. And they stem from the guy in the one-family house with his basement all the way to commercial facilities. You've seen it on the news. You've seen, the unfortunate damage that results from these things. And of course, there are situations where fatalities happen, which is unfortunate. Loss of life is never justified, but it does happen. These things have issues. People sometimes don't realize that these batteries can have what they call thermal runaway. It just overheats, it cooks, and boom. And it's not like a regular fire. When you look at these things and you open them up, it has a little battery case like everyone sees, but when you open it up, it has these little cells in there. Make believe you have little AA batteries. They're a little bigger, but they're like that. They're all lined up inside. And they're all interconnected wires, in series. Well, what happens is they just don't burn. They go off like bullets, literally, like firecrackers everywhere, right, Vince? You know. And that's the problem. It just engulfs everything very, very fast. And that's why you see the images on the news or in the newspapers of all the significant damage that these things cause. So definitely, it's a major problem. From our end, FD's end, of course, we're there to get rid of them in a safe manner as quickly as possible. So the protocol, as I said, works in this way. Once it's safely packed by FD, it's now in cell block, it's in a metal drum, it needs to go out. Okay. Give you an example. One small drum, 15 gallon, which is really this tall, right? Nothing big, this wide, this tall. It could run anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 to get rid of that drum, which is an astronomical number to look at for one battery. And you say to yourself, how can that be? Well, the problem with that is it is unstable. Lithium is an unstable metal. It is great. The battery itself has significant power, but it doesn't like to behave. If the reaction is still ongoing, you think you got control, you hope you have control, it could still come and reignite. So people stay away. Contractors who are specifically in business to work with hazardous materials sometimes shy away. They don't want to deal with it. Because now you take it from where it was, you bring it to their facility, they're afraid it's going to blow up and burn up their warehouse. So they don't want it. Most of the time it goes onto a truck, usually open, and it gets trucked right to the facility for destruction or recycling immediately. So that's where the money comes in. It's quick. So initially, the city was handling all of these, FD, sanitation. It was all going into one facility in Brooklyn. You heard in the minutes that there was a point where DEP came in and cleaned up some of the drums that were collected at DSNY. The actual situation is DEP came in on November 30th through December 2 and removed 152 drums from DSNY. Approximately 8,000 pounds worth of batteries. At a low cost, mind you, and I know I'm not being kidding here, I'm not joking, at $102,000. Okay, so naturally, this is where costs, labor, investment, time had to be considered, and that's how a protocol had to be developed. So the protocol comes up this way. There's something in New York City called the spill bill, right? In short, our New York City spill bill. Its actual name is the Hazardous Substance Emergency Response Law, Local Law 42/87. This law, which is particularly empowering DEP, it empowers DEP to do one thing. It allows it to give an order to a responsible party. That could be an individual, could be a corporation, it could be anything. I mean, I've had orders issued to, as I said, one family person, all the way up to the NYSHA, and everybody in between. There's no exemption. This is the agreement. FD packs it, we get called. If there's a responsible party, they are given 72 hours by order. The order says you must secure, you must hire a licensed contractor, and you must get it disposed properly and provide all documentation. You have 72 hours. Now, DEP is there to make sure that this process is followed. That's if there's a responsible party. If there is a responsible party and they default because they don't want to cooperate, which we've had a few, then DEP becomes the responsible party, city takes custody, and we take care of it. But the responsible party is not off the hook. We have the ability to issue notices of violation. Mind you, we don't like to do this. As I said, you can get rid of a small drum for $2,000 or $3,000. But notices of violation start at $10,000 a day. Every day, depending on how many things you did wrong to violate the commissioner's order. Some people willfully think that we're not going to do anything. Well, we don't. We give you an order, we give you a notice of violation, and we see you in court. Why are we taking this hard approach? It's because these things cause problems, significant problems. They're dangerous. Most of the time, and I would say not most, I would say a significant majority of the time, people comply. And I would just say, for example, I have the numbers here. I said there were about 153 jobs, okay? All right. I have, out of the 153, 65 commissioner's orders ordered. So give and take the math, 42 to 43% of all lithium-ion battery jobs are done by the responsible party, under oversight of DEP, of course. Now, that's a significant savings, keeping in mind that some of these jobs don't involve one drum. Some could have multiple drums. So when you look at the numbers, just in your mind, you say to yourself, okay, well, what does that really mean? These are just percentages. Well, for jobs that there is no responsible party, okay, it's just there. Bike burns up on the street, it abandons. Unfortunately, someone throws it in a garbage bag, it goes into the back of the sanitation truck catches fire. All of these things happen. No responsible party. Naturally, that's the city's responsibility. We remove it. Like I said, we assume custody. We get rid of it safely. It's done. Again, FDNY naturally is our partner. They're the ones who put it out, pack it. It's a team effort. But now let's look at numbers. So far, using this procedure, the city has spent about $135,000. Okay, so that's a savings to the city. Almost, let's call it a 60-40 split. 40% responsible party, 60% city. So the program, the protocol, the law is working in our favor. And people comply. And for those who don't, we'll see them in court. We have several cases. We've had a few think they're cute, pull a fast one on us. The only problem with us is we follow through. We make sure it's done the right way. So the protocol has been effective. Thanks to everyone here who are partners with us. I thank you. And also, I need to acknowledge the mayor's office. There is such a thing now as the mayor's office task force on micro-mobility. Now, the task force to which myself, I know Vincent, FD we sit on it, as well as many other partners, have been working very diligently in passing new rules and regulations. I know FDNY has a lot of regulations on the books that were approved to how to control these batteries from being remanufactured secondhand. There's a lot of task force investigations going out, cold investigations, if you want to call them that, going to businesses that they suspect are doing remanufacturing illegally. There's requirements on, trading in batteries, or there's some sort of cost incentive or some sort of subsidy. There's work going on the state level, similarly to try to control these things. There's federal regulations going in the works, which are trying to restrict improper, uncertified type batteries. They might need to be UL listed. They need to be certified by a laboratory of some sort. So there's a lot of work going on. This has taken a life of its own. People have realized that even though these batteries seem harmless, they're not. So when I say noteworthy responses, well, there's 153 so far. We average at least one a day. And on good days, we could get 3 or 4 a day. And I could tell you now, I'm sure our partners in FD can admit it, I admit it, it gets to be very, very difficult to handle and fatiguing. You need to control it, you need to secure it, you need to dispose it. It's a lot of work. So, even though we have almost 5 contractors available to us, even that may be, the case, it's still difficult that many times it's in the middle of the night. Could be on a holiday, it could be a weekend. Well, people are busy, they don't want to show up. I get calls in the middle of the night. We got a battery. I mean, FD does it, we get it. It is what it is. That's how it happens. Now you call a contractor, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. The procedure we follow is we need to do a bid. We have the authority to do a verbal bid. But again, who's the lowest bidder? Who's the most responsive bidder? That, is a very difficult procedure, even during the day. And sometimes there is no response. We're still waiting. Under the protocol, we actually have to get a fire guard to sit on the drum and watch it. Because, as I said, these things are unstable. So, as we went through all this, and through the cleanups that we've done, we did one for DSNY for about $102,000. We did one for NYPD in January at $393,000. So you can see I'm talking significant numbers here. The department internally decided that the best thing to do is to have what we would call an on-call contract, which means the person who gets this contract is available 24/7, weekends, holidays, you name it. There's a time limit to respond, there's protocols. There's, of course, differentials in pricing. If it's an evening, it's a holiday. We had to make it enticing. And we did put out a contract. We let it out for bid, and we did have and solicit a successful bidder. The contract is in the controller's office now, waiting for, registration. Once that's in place, we'll definitely be streamlining the process even further. And hopefully this will allow us at DEP, the ability to have someone available 24/7. That's really our intent. Because we do know, and we expect, unfortunately, many more of these until all the new laws and regulations kick in. A lot of the people who unfortunately manufacture second-hand batteries, and when I say second-hand, that means they literally, I mean, we just had one this weekend, a bike shop, which they take out a used battery, take out the internals, put it into a new casing, and sell it at a discount. The only problem with that is the components are already damaged. So since they're damaged, it makes no difference if it has a nice shiny case. The damage is there. So we have those. And I know FD is going out, PED is going out. We get calls where, you know, they pack up things where they suspect improper, you know, construction or secondhand manufacturing. So it's going to take a while. As all the laws kick in, as the enforcement kicks in, and as people understand, you know what? Sometimes that cheaper battery may not be worth it because, you know, putting that thing in my living room and not being able to come out the next morning, is it really worth the $50 or $100 savings? You know, the educational aspect, I know DSNY is involved. I've seen FD's, you know, pamphlets. It's a very complicated uphill battle. But people are working on it, and like I said, that's why I call it noteworthy responses, because it's not only DEP, it's everyone around the table who has a piece of it where we need to get to educate people to realize, hey, you know what? Think twice before you actually, you know, play around or try to get some sort of shortcut. It may not be worth it. So with that, I will conclude my speech here on lithium-ion batteries, and again acknowledge formally and thank all of our partners that work with us on this, because it is indeed a significant effort. So thank you all. And with that, Commissioner?
Thank you, Harry. In-depth analysis. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding the noteworthy responses or special deployments or contributions?
Continue to get the word out about electronic submission of the tier two, because while we were speaking, I was getting information that the fire department still received about 5,000
Really?
copies.
Okay.
I know that the PDFs filtered through me specifically, that I get them out to the field, and I probably handle a couple of thousand. And I
Okay.
keep responding back that this is sufficient, you don't have to mail us a hard copy, and I just urge them to send it in PDF, because then I have to wind up converting them into PDF to push them out. So just keep that messaging, and then maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, we can move away from the hard copy.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone online attending virtually have any comments? Okay. Going once, going twice. Sold. All right. Anything else? Did I miss anything? All right. Everything and more that you wanted to know about lithium-ion responses. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending and participating, and for all your help throughout the year. Thank you, everybody online, for all your help throughout the year as a partner in this. Very much appreciated. And that will conclude this year's meeting of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Rob.
By the front there. Okay. Yeah. You didn't have a sign-in sheet, a separate sign-in sheet, it's only at the front there?
Yeah, I guess so, but I can get a copy of that.
Yeah, you need that.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first time doing this, I believe it'll.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'll get all the information. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Mike Person, nice to meet you, sir.
John Cosgrove,
Brian Tardo.
Brian, John Cosgrove, nice to meet you.
No, this, I hadn't been to your guys' LEPC before, so this is really enlightening to understand the sheer statistics that are happening in the city itself.
I can imagine.
We don't see the numbers.
I was supposed to attend your, you guys had a meeting,
What?
and you chaired the meeting.
Oh, the thing for the salaries and personnel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Thursday morning.
What time? Because they have
supposed to-
a the whole day.
11, I
Working
think.
with the Coast Guard.
Mhm.
And he's an old friend of mine from the
Yeah, because we're gonna try to
Yeah.
bump the
Oh,
salaries.
11.
And I wanted
We need to try to move them even
But
higher,
then something else
For-
popped up that
for the-
day.
for the
It
IH
makes
or
sense.
the-
They only
even
do
IH
one.
or even
You know,
associate, whatever it is, to get more
Not a
people.
mark, but
Yeah.
for me, you know,
Oh, so-
because we have
okay.
a lot of facilities.
I thought you were gonna bring up the garage, I didn't wanna mention.
No, that guy's in,
Yeah.
I don't wanna bring up garage, no, this is worse.
We just had a flush boat
Garage
fall,
is-
run aground yesterday.
Garage, I'm gonna tell
Yeah,
you,
Hunt's
the
Point.
guy
Really?
is,
Yeah, ran
they're
aground
still digging,
yesterday, right over
by
at,
hand,
Rockaway Inlet.
lucky
No
them.
kidding.
Yeah, so I actually do have a question for you. I was told that it's not sewage that they were carrying, but rather wastewater. So it's, is that like the end product after it's gone through the sewage treatment plant?
So some plants can't process sewage,
Okay,
so they boat it from one plant to another.
okay.
Which
So
is
it could have been
different.
sewage or it could have been,
No, final product is water released back into the harbor, like at 99.7%. Apparently the Hunts Point ran aground yesterday in Rockaway.
Really? Yeah. You didn't get that word?
Actually, I saw it there, but I didn't know it ran around.
They had, Susan Miller come and pull them off. It's off the ground.
Okay.
There's no loss of any product, there's no loss of oil, so we were,
It's odd that we didn't get an incident report on that.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
well,
That might not be an
That might be a
accident.
question for
Might be a
today.
work in
Yeah.
progress.
yeah. They're probably doing the paperwork right now.
Well, they don't, so they're part of the DEP program.
How come I didn't get them, Anthony's been retired for years, how come I haven't received any
I'm
so
sure
far?
police and security.
Okay.
Not like I would know, not in the direct pipeline of information, but that is
We should have known
that's
about
good
that.
water cooler talk though, anyway. So when you say ran aground, it is basically soft sand?
Yeah, it was off the ground, but it was stuck. We got, we definitely were pulling it off with, some of this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the other dude, and
They know about it.
Did all of these with
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, it was just, yeah, we're gonna do it. They're not even, actually, I was trying to text her that they were all come up tomorrow.
So it's just up on the sand?
Yeah,
Next to
there's
the
a little
lockbox.
shoal that's, you know, right on the end, what is that, Breezy Point area around the, so it was,
Breezy Point? Would like to know that.
yeah, well, it was on
It's
the
a
inside, right
difficult
on.
point
Yeah.
though, when you come around it, right?
Yeah, so they're coming around, coming into it, I guess they maybe took the turn a little too wide, or what are the tides were doing at that point in time, come up on the south side there.
Oh, how interesting. That'll be fun later, I have a 1 o'clock.
That was a very difficult.
Yeah, so you can just say, hey, I heard about Hunts Point.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks for your.
So I just gotta know, is Brendan Dolan as much of a joker as he,
He was.
okay, good.
I'm glad to see he still retained his
Yeah,
sense
he
of humor.
said he was a real schlub in the police force, but,
He works 10 feet from my desk.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's
Tell him you met John Cosgrove, and he's delighted to see you guys here. If I can ever help out, just give me a call.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Sir, thank you very much for everything. I'm gonna go figure out if I got any lithium ion batteries on our ship.
That's right.
I don't wanna touch them with a 10-foot pole.
I don't blame you.
The good ones, they're okay.
It's about 19.
So they're still digging, huh, by hand?
All right, I'll stay on top of it.
Once you get the radar on the house and you get an image and it doesn't resonate back. Take the digging machine, get the gas, and cut over the end of it. I mean, he'll evacuate everything in there right away. Oh.
And Robert did the beginning of the picture was the Bangla boy. Not including under R&B.
I remember.
Yes, and then I put some voices from police down. Did you do introduction in the beginning? Well, I think it went well. Right. I heard you.